I can tell you I traveled a long way to be here. My name is Eleanor Beaton. My brand is Fierce Feminine Leadership. I work with women, and I love to advise and support very smart men. So if you've made the decision to be here, clearly you are a very smart man. My mission is to work with emerging women leaders to help them develop the confidence, the presence, and the influence that they need to take their seats at the tables where the big deals and big decisions get made. And my intention for all of you is that you don't just take your seat at the table, but that you have a voice as well. Because when I look around at the world, this beautiful, troubled world that we live in, what I know for certain is that when you think about our challenges, ongoing political and geopolitical instability, environmental challenges and degradation, and the bewildering challenge of entrenched global poverty on a planet that certainly has more than enough resources for all of us. What I know to be true is that to create the change that our world so badly needs, we need to see women step into leadership positions at every level of leadership, in our communities, in our homes, in our small businesses, in our big businesses, and as leaders of countries. Who's with me on that? Yes. And we also need the partnership of men who are in the transformational economy. So the men who are just like those of you sitting here. We need you too. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to train my heart out for 40 minutes. And I'm going to teach you as much as I can about how to discover your $1 million message and how to grow your businesses with stories that sell. And for those of you who want to take it further and take what I've taught you here today to create lasting transformation, I'll provide an opportunity for you guys to do that as well. Does that sound good? Yes. Awesome. Let's rock and roll. Okay, so over the course of my career, and our fabulous MC talked about this, you know, I have been privileged to work with some of the most successful and celebrated women in business in my country. And I'm talking about women who have taken businesses from $600 million a year in sales to $6 billion a year in sales. I'm talking about women who dominate the top positions in our top female entrepreneur lists. We all know those lists. I'm talking about people who have taken companies who started out broke, $100,000 in debt, maxed out credit cards, built up their companies to cash out at $550 million USD last year. I have had the honor and privilege of working closely with not just one or two, but with dozens of the top leaders and entrepreneurs in our country. First ladies, advisors to prime ministers to presidents. And I call these people the 2% or the 4%, because here's what we know about women in business. We are starting businesses faster than ever before. In the United States, at least, according to the State of Women-Owned Business Report by Amex, women, since the recession, women have started businesses 5 times faster than the national average. The challenge is, according to the Harvard Business Review, the majority of women who start businesses fail to replace their corporate income. So there are a lot of women out there who are working very hard and not monetizing appropriately. And that's why the advice of people like Camilita and Sharon Lecter, who I'm so honored to call my mentor, that's why advice from people like that and how to monetize what you do is so critical. So when they offer you an opportunity to work with them, you're crazy not to take it. I say that from personal experience. But from my vantage point, working closely with very successful women in business, the 2%, the 4%, they all have their own stories and experiences, their unique backgrounds, the unique skill sets that they bring. But what's really interesting to me are the things that they share, the knowledge, the know-how, the skill sets that they share, and as a group bring to what they're doing so that they can crack a glass ceiling that is still very real. So the critical thing that they understand is that when it comes to growing your business, to growing a global brand, to sharing your $1 million message, you've got to understand that visibility trumps ability. You want to write that down. Visibility trumps ability. Now, I'm not being cavalier about this, okay? I'm not saying just go, I'm not going to go start up an audiology clinic. I was speaking with Michael Lecter about how smart it would be to start an audiology clinic because of so many people that I know who need better hearing, including my husband. I coach him a lot. So I'm not saying be cavalier about it, but what I am saying is when I think about the thousands of women, emerging women leaders in our online community, what I see is a group of people, the ones who are not monetizing appropriately. In general, they are spending way too much on the technical side of what they do, and they're not addressing what Leon Street, who's going to be speaking tomorrow, has identified as the #1 problem of small businesses: obscurity. So you've got to get yourself out there, you've got to be visible, and it's not just showing up and being visible. It's also communicating your message in a way that other people can hear and that they're going to buy, believe, and know that you actually know what you're talking about. And that's probably my main area of expertise, if you want to get really technical about it. It's helping people communicate in a way that doesn't just show, but inspires and proves that they know what they're talking about. And I'm going to share a number of examples with you about that. The big challenge for people, especially in the transformational economy, coaches, healers, consultants, people who are selling information, is that sooner or later, you know that you need to be visible, but sooner or later you are going to run into the single biggest chokehold on your ability to be that. And it's the idea that you cannot outperform your self-image. We've heard it referenced several times today in different ways. I'm going to teach you the technical side so that you are better able to say what you do. But mark my words, I have worked with many people. Anybody who is in the mentoring space gets this. And you can teach people how to do something. But the real work is, are you willing to grow your self-image so that you can show up and let the world see you? Now, I have major personal experience with this. This is me at, I think, about age 14. My mom is in heels. I'm basically as tall as I am now, age 14. So let me tell you a little bit about my story. I'm actually a UK citizen. Are there any Welshmen and Welsh women in the house? What? Just a couple sheep. So I'm Welsh. My maiden name is Davis. I was born in Wales. We lived in Nottingham until I was young. And my mother's from the Fiji Islands. We emigrated to Canada. And Canada's known as a very international country, but not where I lived. I lived in rural Nova Scotia. It's like small, out-of-the-way, remote place. When I arrived at school, I remember people looking at me like they'd never seen anybody who had hair like mine. They'd never seen anyone that looked like me. They were shocked when my mom came in with her afro, which she still has. In Fiji, they believe your spirit is in your hair, so nobody's touching her hair. And today I am so grateful for her. She is my support. But growing up in rural Nova Scotia, the only brown girl in a sea of white, was not easy. I can remember being in grade primary and Mike Brown saying loudly, the teacher was out, And out of the blue, Michael Brown says, I'm 5 or 6, I would marry anyone in this classroom except for Eleanor, because Eleanor is a brownie. And, like that feeling, which maybe some of you have experienced, of wanting the floor to swallow you up. Because people are looking at you, either laughing, trying not to laugh, or pitying you. But nobody spoke up. So what I learned, because I experienced a lot of this growing up, what I learned is that it was much safer not to stick out. Not to let people really see me. I was 6 feet tall. I had frizzy hair. I did well in school. All things that help you, that are really useful when you see as an adult, but at the time, these are things that make you feel geeky, sticking out like you don't belong, that you don't want to be seen. The challenge, it was fine for me. I did okay. And then I got into business. And I pivoted my business from being a consultant, and my business was grown completely through organic reach and word of mouth, to wanting to build a global brand, a bigger platform. I wanted to stop working behind the scenes, advising people. I knew that I had a message that was relevant to people outside that world, and I had to let people see me. And in order to let people see me, I had to grow my self-image. In fact, I didn't have to grow it, I had to shatter it and create a new one. And that process of shattering your self-image to continuously allow yourself to grow so that you can actually use the skills I'm about to teach you, that's something that is ongoing. Hiring the right mentors, working with people like Sharon is huge in that. Learning the skill sets, but doing that inner work. That's why when I'm working with my clients, we're working on what they say, how they say it, how they communicate, how they show up as leaders, and we're working on the inner game. Make sense? All right. When what you're trying to communicate on the outside is not reflected by what's happening on the inside, what happens is you disobey or you break what is ultimately a pretty massive law of success and effectiveness and growth in business and in leadership, and that's the law of congruence. So I remember working with somebody who really wanted to position herself as a very powerful leader and expert in her industry. That's what she said she wanted. What she really wanted was not to be seen. What she really wanted was to stay comfortable behind the scenes. And so she marched around doing a lot of work to try to get her message out, but was it congruent with what she really wanted? No, not at all. So my invitation to all of you here, as you are going through what I'm about to teach you, and as you show up and listen to the other speakers, is you've got to ask yourself, is what I say that I want really what I want? And if there is an incongruence there, I cannot attract the success, the abundance, the connections, the deals that I want. And I've got to do the work that it takes to correct that imbalance. Because here's what happens when you break the law of congruence. You run into growth blocks. Here's some common signs. You fail to follow through. Camilita talks about the critical nature of following through. That most sales are made after between 5 and 15 connections. Well, what happens? You don't follow through because you don't really want it. You start trying everything and nothing works. You hold back from putting yourself out there. You undercharge because you're too scared to target the right people. You don't really market yourself, so your business doesn't actually grow. You spend years never making it past the starting line. Your business becomes an expensive hobby, and you wake up at 3 in the morning and you ask yourself, what have I done? It's a hard and lonely place to be, but I feel like we've got to address it, guys. in order for you to take what you're learning here and really transform yourself. And here's what I know about working with women entrepreneurs in particular. When we stop showing up for ourselves, there's something wrong. When we really stop showing up for ourselves. Because when you stop showing up for yourself in your business, when you don't have that congruency, when you don't really have things together inside, it's very difficult to show up outside. And two groups of people suffer from that. Number one, the people who would benefit, whose lives would be transformed from working with you. You rob them. But the other people that you take away from are the people who need you most personally, right? Who here, so many people, I talked about my mother and how she's such a source of inspiration to me. It's because she showed up for herself. So I know that if I'm not congruent, I'm not able to show up for the people who matter to me. So see, what happens, I find, is that as confident, bold women, we get ourselves into these fabulous opportunities and situations, but we've got to have the self-worth, the understanding that we're inherently valuable just as we are, to be able to show up for ourselves when we're sitting at the big tables. Do you follow? Yeah. Because when we stop showing up for ourselves, it means we can't show up for the people whose lives we can transform through our message, and we stop showing up for our families and the people who really need us to crush it in business. This is who I show up for. I'm here for you guys, but I'm also here for them. This is my husband, Leon, my two sons. I know that the best gift I can give to them is the example of a strong woman who wakes up and shows up for herself and her clients and for them every single day. So let's talk about the stories. Once you've done that inner work, because remember, we're talking about presence here. That's an inside-outside game. You've got to play inside, you've got to play it outside. So this is for you if you want to attract influential clients. My business has grown and taken huge leaps because of my ability not to attract masses of people, but the right influencers who can then help me attract other people. And they are not going to get into business with you if you're not showing up with the right chops. It is the fastest way to grow your business and much more cost effective than spending a ton on marketing to reach sort of typical large consumer groups. It's also for you if you want to establish yourself as a thought leader. Guys, we're living in the age of information. Nobody wants to do business with someone who kind of knows what they're talking about. They want to do business with an expert and authority. And finally, if you want to close more sales, really important. If you are clear on your value and you're able to articulate it, you're able to ask for much more money and close much more effectively. I've seen people who have had established 10-year businesses use what I'm about to teach you and experience anywhere from 30 to even more % in sales growth, land much more speaking engagements, and triple their fees or grow them by more than 1,000%. So why do stories sell? According to Napoleon Hill, general knowledge, no matter how great in quantity or variety it may be, is of little use in the accumulation of money. The key is to take what you know and to organize it. Camilita and I, during one of our Skype calls, have done a lot of brainstorming in terms of how do you organize information in order to build a multi-million, billion, you've got to get that jet, dollar brand. Whoops. All right, here are the stories. Take notes, I'm going to talk fast, and I won't say it twice. Number one, your positioning story. Really, really important. You've got to position yourself in the marketplace. There's two aspects to your positioning story. Number one, it's 2 parts credibility, 1 part vulnerability. Your credibility shows you know what you're talking about. Your vulnerability creates a state of empathy between you and your audience. You've got to open the doors to let the relationship flow in. Camilita did a beautiful job of that when she was talking about her upbringing in Trinidad. Here's an example. My name is Jane Doe. I help entrepreneurs scale their businesses to the $1 million mark using other people's money. I worked in private equity for 15 years and have been employed at 2 companies that went public. Those are the 2 pieces of credibility. But it wasn't until I launched my own company 5 years ago that I truly saw just how challenging it is for entrepreneurs to find money they need to grow. That's the vulnerability. Got it? Everybody get your pictures? This one will make you a lot of money if you master it. The larger conversation story. You start that with the problem today is. This is the larger conversation story, and every time, journalists get this, and I know there's some journalists in the room, you've got to put your information into context, okay? The problem today is 80% of the drinking water infrastructure in most Canadian municipalities is more than 50 years old. It's a health crisis waiting to happen. Municipal governments know this but don't have the money to pay for upgrades. We have a solution. I'm not sure if this is technically true, but this was an example that I was giving to one of my clients. Okay? You've got to show, you've got to be able to explain what's going on in your industry and how your business solves a problem. It's critical. This is Kristen Nolan. I call her the 1,350% woman. She's a health coach. She works with high-performance speakers, helping people like me to fix our metabolism so we can show up with a ton of energy and power. She felt that she couldn't communicate that she was just another health coach, that she couldn't communicate to people how smart she really was and how much she could really do for them. We sat down, we worked on her larger conversation story. She was already doing deals in mid-4 figures. She went on to successfully raise her prices to about halfway to 6 figures, roughly, and close them. A 1,350% increase by mastering her larger conversation story, which in turn gave her the confidence to be able to get out there and properly price and communicate with people. The next one is a what's in it for me story. What are the results of your solution and what do these results make possible? WIIFM, the only radio that anybody gives a care about. This is my client, former client Sandra. I met her, I asked her what she does. She says, I'm an adult learning specialist and I make sure consultants follow the principles of adult education when they teach. And I'm like, Sandra, you're putting me to sleep here, you're killing me. Boring. A real friend will tell you when you're being boring. And then I told her that she really needed to hire me. She did. We worked together through my Bold Women Thought Leaders program. The after is this. I help consultants and subject matter experts create masterful workshops so they can make more money, get more referrals, and add additional revenue streams to their existing businesses. She pivoted her business. Sells sold out workshops herself, is making really great money from a point where she thought her business was an expensive hobby. And then finally, this is when Michael and Sharon talk about claiming your intellectual property. This is part of that work. It's your system story. Think about the Covey Foundation, the Covey organization. Richard Covey wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. There's nothing earth-shattering about any single one of those. But what did he do? He named it, he identified it, he branded it, he turned it into a system. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That he has leveraged into a business that I believe his sons are running now, but they're in all kinds of things, but it really comes down to his 7 habits. So if you identify your system, there's your book. There are the chapters of your book. There's the outline of your talk, which is just module number 1. There is your course. There's your year-long program. Guys, until you have this, you're just working and reinventing every time. Way too much work. Does this make sense? Awesome. So what I've done here is really provided you with a starting point. If you start using what I've taught you today, I guarantee you you're going to be much more effective in how you communicate about your business. You know, earlier this week I was having some lengthy conversations with a gentleman. There are 2 people in his company. He routinely closes multiple deals a year that are anywhere from $5 to $20 million. And I asked him what he really does. You know, I know what you say you do. What do you really do? And he said, you know what I really do is I help businesses communicate clearly about what they do. Because at the end of the day, your business is about clarity and numbers. It's about clarity and numbers. So what I want to do is really provide you an opportunity to take the snippet. It's a very useful snippet, but it's still just a snippet of what I have shared with you here today, and show you how you can the process that you can follow to create lasting change in your business. And you can do this with me, or you can take down the steps and do it on your own. I don't want you to have a little bit of knowledge, which is dangerous. I want to show you the whole picture, okay? Are you interested in hearing more about that?
Yes.
Okay. So the idea here is that in the transformational economy, cash equals clarity, influence, and structure. If you apply what I've shown you today, you will have more clarity in being able to create an incandescent message that attracts your ideal clients and tells them exactly what you do. You will have more influence because you demonstrate a stronger command and grasp of your subject matter. But what you don't have is structure to be able to take this powerful messaging, the inner work that you're trying to do to grow yourself and grow your business and stick out from the pack. And that takes structure. So this is what that structure looks like. It's really an outline of my program, Bold Women Thought Leaders. Grow your business by becoming a recognized expert. So these are the exact steps we follow. Again, write them down because you can implement these on your own, or you can work with us and step into our community to do that. These are some of the women who are just finishing up their work. They're all generally making a transition or selling some sort of information or advice. That's the key, okay? If you're selling products, it's not as effective. But for those of you who are selling information and advice, this structure works very well. So step 1, you've got to master the 4 pillars of a thought leader business. You know, Mirella talked about monetizing, and Camilita has talked about how to monetize who you are. Well, it's about having the proper structures in place that you can actually do this. I mean, I remember speaking to people a couple of years ago who were building businesses and really didn't have any way to build up their database, their list of people, their email list. So you've got to have the 4 pillars of a thought leader business in place so you can begin to monetize. Then you need a money model. You need to have a clear, how do I actually make money? You guys wouldn't believe the number of entrepreneurs I speak to, growing entrepreneurs, who don't actually have they can't communicate their business model. You've got to be crystal clear on that so that it works for you. So discover the 9 proven thought leader money models. Then you build your step 3 is you build a 7-figure strategy with a powerful customer journey. I know exactly when people come into my world, I have a plan for them. They may not complete that plan, but I have a plan for them. And that creates the certainty that magnetizes people to you. Again, they don't want to know that you kind of know, they want to know that you know, and you have a plan that's for them. Then you want to craft your $1 million idea with a branded thought leader model. This is one of my particular zones of genius, helping people take unconscious competence, things that they know without realizing they know, and putting it into a formula that they can monetize and that other people can follow. Step 5, own your space with a powerful signature talk. Too many of you are doing different talks all over the place. That's way too hard. You've got to have a compelling talk that is reverse engineered, that leads into ultimately what you offer. Otherwise, it's not making sense. Then you create big paydays with high ticket sales and learning how to do this. This is something that I spent a lot of time mastering. Like Camilita says, it's sales and marketing. Then you position yourself as influencer online with the key persuasion levers based on the psychology of buying that help you to convert more sales. And then finally, once that is in place, then it's about filling your practice and getting paid every day with your custom profit calendar. We take you through a 12-month profit calendar so that you are making money each week, each day, each month in your business. So what does it look like? It looks like 8 60-minute live group coaching calls. This is a 90-day program within an intimate handheld group, hand-selected group of women entrepreneurs that I lead. You will get to know everybody in this group. You have 3 results and implementation labs because I will lovingly tell you things like, I'm not tolerating that answer. With lots of love to make sure that you're getting moving. A 24/7 online forum, and then I give you tons of swipe files, of templates, a signature talk outline generator, planning tools, all of that. The value of that is $2,500. I'm sorry, I'm saying this in US dollars. It's more than that, but that's what I'm charging. The total value is 2,030 pounds. Then we have bonuses. Bonus number 1, Camilita and I, Camilita, whoop, whoop. Yeah, we're doing a bonus training, how to profit from live events. That's a 497 USD value. Sorry guys, this is in USD. You can do the mental conversion. Bonus number 2, a ticket to Fierce Feminine Leadership. This is a live 3-day women's leadership retreat. You remember that woman who took her business from 600 million to 6 billion? She's gonna be there telling us how she did it. You get the Fierce Feminine Leadership Mentor Series. This is access to 25 MP3 interviews with powerhouse women in business, including Sharon Lechter. And then today only, really this weekend only, you get also a Bold Women in Business breakthrough coaching session with me. And that is a value of 997 USD. So the total value is anywhere from 4,200 to 5,200 USD, which is 3,420 pounds approximately, and your investment is 1 payment of $24.97 or 3 payments of $915, which works out to 1 payment of 2,030 pounds or 3 payments of 740 pounds. So that's my offer to you. So if you'd like to take what I have shared today, put it into a system that teaches you clarity, influence, and structure, this is my invitation on how to do that. I'm going to be here for the rest of the weekend, happy to answer any questions that you have. But the main thing, I guess, that I want to leave you with is that you are here for a reason. The world needs your message, and you owe it to yourself and to the people who need to hear from you and the people who care about you most to get yourself into a situation so that you can tell your story in a way that other people can hear and benefit from. Thank you so much for your time and attention, everyone.